Oh, you know what that made me think of that we should do?
What's that?
Well, maybe we should say hi first.
Yep, we should.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Monica.
I'm Ty.
And, okay, here's what I was thinking we should do. My therapist, or my old therapist, used to do a PEMS check-in with me every time we would start therapy.
Guess what that stands for.
How did you know it was an acronym?
Because when else has PEMS been an actual word?
I don't know. It could have been some medical term that you didn't know.
Personal, emotional, mental, spiritual.
You already knew that.
No, but I
already know that?
I do know your therapist from when we did premarital counseling.
Yeah.
And those are all things that seemed fairly important to her, and we talked about in our premarital counseling.
Yeah. Okay. Let's start with the PEMS check-in.
Can we talk about how I crushed that shit?
You did crush it.
Thank you. I needed that validation.
Okay. How are you feeling? Do you want to do popcorn? PEMMSS, or do you want to do PEMS?
Let's do personal.
Okay.
You start.
Oh wait, did you say personal or did you say physical?
Oh, I said personal.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's physical.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
So I did fuck up.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm sorry. That was my fault because I didn't catch it. But yeah, it's.
You should pull away from the mic a bit. You're blasting it.
That just changed my emotional state for sure.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, no, it's physical. So like how you're physically feeling, how you're feeling emotionally, how you're feeling mentally, and how you're feeling spiritually.
I guess that makes a lot more sense, honestly, because personal.
It doesn't. It's kind of vague.
I think of like as personal versus professional, or so, you know.
Professionally, I'm feeling very.
Honestly, I feel pretty good this week. Professionally, personally,
I'm pretty rich this week. Professionally,
falling apart. But I mean, emotional, mental, and spiritual all refer to personal.
This whole thing is personal, so yes.
Yeah, I guess they could also be professional.
All right, Ty, just tell us how you're feeling physically.
All right, physically,
Jesus.
Oh no, we're already off the rails. We've been on this.
Long.
We hit record 3 minutes ago. Okay. Physically, I'm okay.
No. How exactly are you feeling physically? It's not I'm okay, I'm good. It's no.
No, I was gonna give more to that.
Okay, go ahead.
I wasn't just gonna.
Sorry.
All right.
Those are just words to avoid. I'm good, okay, tired. Tired can kind of count for.
Yeah, but you should
specific.
probably be drained versus. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
Okay, physically, I am. Well, now we're starting to get more mental, but it's fine. I am getting over being sick.
So how are you feeling now?
So I feel good, but then I randomly will like start coughing, and it's really annoying.
You're telling me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really annoying because it's like, well, A, involuntary, and B, it's like I feel fine.
Yeah, it's
I don't
like that.
feel sick at all.
It's like that sudden urge itch thing, but it's not fully an itch, but it's almost kind of in your chest, and you just like have to cough.
Yeah, it's like deep in your throat.
Yeah,
it sucks.
And he keeps scaring the shiz out of me.
Yeah.
Every time he does it, because it's always like out of nowhere, and it's just it's like jolting.
Yeah.
Oh, it sends a shiver down my spine.
Yeah, it sucks. So if I randomly like dip out or I'm coughing in the background of Monica talking throughout this episode, that's why. I feel great, but I have noticed the longer I talk, the worse it gets.
So we'll see how he's holding up by the end of this episode.
Yeah, by the time we're signing off here, I'm going to just be hacking in the background. But other than that, I feel pretty okay. Pretty good. Did I do okay?
Yeah, you did.
Check-in?
You did great.
All right, great.
You just talk a lot sometimes, but that's good because this is a podcast, and
that's my only job here.
Yeah.
Other than editing and planning. And
physically, hey, I run the social media.
You do.
Except I am logged out of the account right now, so Ty has been.
Have had to be.
Ty's been posting on my behalf, but I still made the things for you last week.
Yeah, but I did make the things the week before.
Hey, don't hold that over me. I was really stressed.
You were really stressed that week. That was, yeah, don't worry.
He says don't worry when he's clearly holding it over my head, but it's fine.
I used my one hold over your head. That's the one time I get.
That's an ick. Okay, anyway.
Honestly fair.
Physically, I am feeling satisfied. We did just eat dinner, so I'm not feeling hungry. I'm not feeling full. Feeling pretty good in that regard.
Good.
Also, my head feels a little tight because I have like a slicked back ponytail.
Is that what I was hurting earlier?
I think so. Because yesterday I had a headache too, and I also had a slicked back ponytail that day. I guess you just do what you got to do for the trends.
You didn't even take the ponytail out overnight.
I slept in this. Well, I redid it this morning. I redid it, but I did sleep in the ponytail.
It's not good.
It's not bad to sleep in a ponytail, I don't think. Well, it should be like a scrunchie or something kind of loose. Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, that's where I'm at.
For the physical?
Yeah, and I'm not cold or hot, so I feel like overall I'm just satisfied.
Nice.
Yeah.
Emotionally, I feel content. Is that allowed?
I always get mixed up on emotional and mental, but I think you are correct in that. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Because
I feel happy. I feel fulfilled.
Oh, that's great.
Emotionally, I do feel pretty good.
Good.
I did have one little sad thing earlier.
Do you want to talk about it on the podcast or?
Yeah, might as well. We've talked about it extensively.
Hold on real quick. I'm pulling up my charts that Kelly gave me.
Nice.
Of like
I do love
descriptive
those
words.
charts.
I forgot about it, but I came across them today.
Did you hear that? I said charges. I actually thought about it when we first started talking about when you first told me I wasn't allowed to say I'm okay. I thought about them the other day, actually. You said you were stressed about something, and I never quite know what that means. So I thought about it and was like, I should just print that and put it on our wall.
On our fridge.
Yeah. I should honestly put it above our coffee stuff, and people would think it's a coffee wheel, like a tasting wheel.
Would they think that?
Yeah. It looks the exact same as the coffee tasting wheel.
Oh, I feel like I'd be like, why do you have emotional charts above your coffee station?
Yeah, they're great. Anyways, I did have one small sad thing happen. It's weird. It's a happy sad thing.
Is there a word for the way that I'm feeling tonight? Happy
Casey?
and sad. Yeah.
Right.
Sorry.
That was good. You crushed it.
Thank you.
The films that I directed when I worked at the production company came out this week, and I found them today on the interwebs, and that was very exciting because they were for BBC Storyworks, and they're out there for the world to see, and I directed them, which is very cool. But one of them, I got let go before I could finish that film. So I saw it through production, but didn't get to see it through post-production. And so that was a little sad. It was a weird experience because it was the first time that I got to see the project that I directed. And ultimately, like, with a project like that, I don't think it would have changed that much had I been there through post-production, just because BBC is pretty picky about how they wanted it, and I would have worked with the producer, and ultimately it's the producer's film, not the director's film. So I don't know that it would have changed that much, but it would have been a little bit different, I'm sure, in some regard. But yeah, so that happened today, which was a little bit sad, but it was also kind of fun to be able to look at, the BBC website and see two films that I
The
shot.
little part of one that I saw looked good when you turned your phone around and showed it to me and said, "That's me."
Yep. I'll show you them later. I feel like I showed you the New York one. I know I showed it to my mom. That's how I'm doing emotionally.
Okay, let me look at the wheel to know how I'm feeling, or to think of how I'm feeling emotionally, because the emotions can be tough
Rampant.
for me. I'm gonna pick like 2 positives, 2 uncomfortable. That's another thing. You don't have to call them negative. You can just call them uncomfortable emotions.
Okay.
We'll start with the uncomfortable. I would say I am feeling a little bitter regarding our previous conversation about your emotional state.
Yep.
and a little bit, I would say a little anxious. Which if you know me, you know that's not really anything new.
Yeah, that's pretty on par.
Yeah.
Anxious about anything in particular or just...
You know, that's always the question, isn't it?
It is. I ask it once a day. I like to check in. Sometimes you know what you're anxious about. Sometimes you have no idea.
I can't fully pinpoint it, but I think it's work. But I can't fully pinpoint it, you know? It's like I just kind of feel it. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, that's fine.
My comfortable, positive emotions, I would say I am feeling expectant. It's a fun one. And let's go with grateful.
Okay. Expectant about what?
Money.
Nice.
Success.
Okay.
Not just those things, but I think just expectant about our future because we're like working towards it.
Yeah. Yeah, things are on the up, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Good.
Okay, how are you feeling mentally? This one is more of just like are you feeling like clear, kind of like foggy or like distracted, you know?
Yeah. I have two that are a little counterintuitive. They don't feel like they should go together, but they do. So in the long term, I'm feeling pretty focused.
Okay, I can see that.
In the current, I'm feeling a little scattered.
Okay.
Just because like work
you got
is,
the end goal in mind.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm like making steps towards it, which is cool and exciting. But like right now I feel really good about, you know, having meetings with people, talking to people, all that kind of stuff. It's really cool.
Okay, what if you're not thinking about just work?
I mean...
Not a thought in his brain when you ask him to take work out of it.
But honestly, yeah, it is hard for me to have separation in that because I focus so heavily on career stuff.
Why do you think that? No, I'm kidding. Don't answer because we have a podcast episode to get to.
That's true.
We should start doing episodes though that's like a therapy session.
Wait,
is that offensive?
I don't think so. Why would that be offensive?
I don't know. To people that like...
People that go to therapy? People that go to therapy would love it.
I think you're speaking as somebody that's not currently going to therapy, so...
Yeah, but I've been to therapy before.
Anyway,
It might be a little narcissistic, but we also have our own podcast.
Well, I didn't mean like... I just mean like a therapy format, like where I start with the PEMS check-in and then like we go into...
Therapy part 1 and therapy part 2, and we just take turns playing therapist.
Yeah.
I think that would be fun.
Okay, we'll talk about it after.
Sound off in the Google form if you think it'd be fun. I mean, I feel very clear in non-career focused portions of my life.
Good.
Like, I feel like I feel like you and I are on the same page about most things in our life at the moment, about where we live, what we want to be saving for and like working towards as a couple.
Great.
Maybe I feel a little scattered about the podcast, but that's also kind of work-ish. So I separate it, but it's kind of the same.
Nice.
I should probably keep 1 or 2 of those in there. Yeah. Did I answer mentally?
That spooked me.
Did I answer mentally okay?
Yes.
Okay, how you doing mentally?
I would say I don't feel very clear-headed mentally, but maybe that's because I haven't really like practiced being fully present yet today. Like I've just been like going. Because I got up this morning, left the house early to take Cooper to the vet, came back home, worked, made dinner. Now we're podcasting. Like I didn't really ever collect myself.
Yeah.
So I think I just feel a little foggy. It's interesting. Like it's kind of interesting when you are like on autopilot.
Yeah.
It's like I'm just doing what I have to do, but I haven't like checked in with myself.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's where I'm at.
Good.
Yeah. Spiritually?
I feel pretty good. I don't know how to answer spiritually very well. I don't know what word you would say for this, but like I would like to, I think, grow more. learn a little more.
In this present moment, you're feeling that?
Yes. I've been curious for the past couple days about meditation.
I could get behind. I could fuck with some meditation.
Yeah. I could get down and dirty with some meditation. I almost said medication.
Well, I get down and dirty with that. Oh, wait.
You do.
That sounds like drugs.
Oh.
That's not what I mean.
I mean, you do take drugs, but they're prescribed.
Yeah.
Yes, I would like to learn a little bit more about meditation because I was listening to a podcast episode the other day when they were talking about it.
It's so funny how when I mention things, you're just like, oh, nice. But then if you hear it on a podcast, you're like, so there's this cool thing called meditation.
Yes. I'm always, I guess I've
never
like expressed
you're not
interest.
Influenced by me. But if you hear it on a podcast, you're like, oh.
It depends on who says it.
Just goes to show that he values Dax Shepard's opinion more than mine.
It actually wasn't Dax.
But it was on his podcast.
It was on his podcast. Yeah. It was Rick Rubin. He's like the most successful producer ever. Okay. Not really, but yes.
So if I was a famous producer, you would think my opinions were better?
Maybe.
Okay, continue. Was that your spiritual meditation?
Yeah. But otherwise, like I've had like decent conversations. I had a really good conversation this morning about spiritualism. Spirituality. Say as you will. I feel like you and I have been leaning a little bit more into spirituality, and like I think maybe that's part of also like the growth side of things is I would like for us to like start experimenting. That sounds like we're getting like weird. But I would like
Shrooms.
Yeah, we're taking LSD together. No, I would like to, I guess, start entertaining that side of our relationship because it's not something that we have done a ton of.
Yes.
As a couple.
I would also kind of argue that it's not really a side of the relationship because I would say like even if it's not necessarily at the forefront, it's always somewhat the basis. You know what I mean?
Yes, I would agree. I feel like that.
I know what you mean, though. Like, we haven't necessarily been doing very many specific things to, like, foster our spiritual journey together.
Yes, exactly.
I feel you.
So, again, it all comes under that, like, I'm interested to grow and learn more about spirituality. Mm-hmm. I'm not even going to say Christianity. I would say spirituality because I think that is what's more interesting to me at the moment. And Christianity has a part to play in that. Continue. How are you feeling?
I would say, well, similar. I like agree with everything that you just said. I don't know. I feel like over the last few weeks, I've thought more about spirituality just because of like things that have been happening.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
And while the things that have been happening are not necessarily like good, I do like having, I don't know, I like being like brought back to, not that I like ever like lose it, but I think I just like don't focus on it that much sometimes when like nothing is really like happening.
Yeah.
Might sound kind of shitty to say, like, but I feel like that's just human experience to like really lean into your faith when things are like harder.
Yeah, I would agree.
But I don't even mean like, I don't know. I feel like I've just felt more, I don't really know how to explain what I'm trying to say.
Longing?
No.
Interest?
No. I think I just feel a little bit more connected. Like,
okay. Good.
It's like when I remember
even just
that part of my life. Sorry.
No. You go ahead.
I don't know. I think sometimes I just like, I forget that I have the ability to like pray or, you know, like, I don't know. I think sometimes I just like forget that I have this faith that's like a really important part of my life. And then when I remember it and like lean into it a little bit more, I'm like, oh yeah, that's like who I am. And that's where I've been at.
That's cool.
Yeah. I think I did a shit job explaining, but I don't really know how to fully explain it. I just feel like
I was even going to say, like, when it's more on the front of your mind, just in generally, you tend, like, in a day-to-day sense, it tends to feel a little more part of your life.
Yeah. And I think
even if you're not like, oh, I'm praying all the time. It's like,
yeah. I've also just like you, I've had conversations lately that have been good. Like we talked about spirituality and therapy last week, and I hung out with a friend on Friday and we talked about stuff then. So yeah.
Nice.
That took forever.
It did. It took us 30 minutes.
Good Lord. I'm so sorry. I thought that was just going to be like a fun little 5 minutes to get us started. Maybe we'll start doing these a little bit more, but we'll consolidate them more. Now that we've like kind of knocked out the first one, we can just be like hungry, excited, cloudy, good.
Yeah. Because I did give like
you were giving some explanations.
I was. And I didn't know if that was the vibe or not. I guess moving forward, it might.
No, it can be the vibe, especially like if this was an actual therapy session, like what I had with my therapist.
Good use of our time.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, like, if you think about it, if this was an actual therapy thing, one of us would not be talking. Like, one of us wouldn't be sharing, right? Which means that time could have been cut in half.
True.
A therapy session, it would only be 15 minutes.
Sometimes I would ask my therapist, though, like, what theirs were, too.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's understandable. I would probably ask that, too.
I don't want to be the only one being like, here's how I'm feeling. Like, I'm talking to you. How are you feeling?
Yeah.
Let's get into what we wanted to talk about for the day. I don't even think we even said it at the beginning, so...
Probably not.
Let them know.
Today we're talking about organization.
It sounds boring.
It does, but honestly...
It is boring. No, I'm kidding.
It's boring as shit.
No, it's mostly just, I feel like...
It's one of those things that's so important... And everybody has a very specific way that they want it done about everything.
Yeah. Not even just like physical organizing, but even like how you organize like your schedule or
your computer,
your workload. Yeah. Or your computer. Like we are so different in the way we organize.
Yeah. And I think in the past year now, like us living together, it's like there's been funny things that become apparent to us of like, oh, you see this thing as like, this is really important. And I've never thought about it, and vice versa.
Yeah.
You know? And I don't know. We were talking about what we wanted to make an episode about. And it just is like there's obviously always things that I feel like all of us can do better to be like a little bit more tidy, but it's all about what you find important, and I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
I just think it's an interesting like insight into humanity.
No, it really is. I will say, ever since like moving and downsizing, I don't enjoy not having a ton of space, but I do enjoy that for the most part, I know where everything is because we don't have as much stuff anymore. And we've kind of been forced to be more organized because we're in a small space.
That is true. Things have to have a home now.
Yeah. And that's like, I talked about this a lot with you when we lived in our old place. Like, I want everything to have a place. And I feel like in our old place, I always just like felt a little stressed because I didn't feel like everything had a place, or I felt like things that didn't have a place would get thrown in the one space that had room. And I didn't like that.
Yeah, that did always bug you.
And so I do like that here. It's like we don't have an option for things to not have a place, or the things that don't have a place are out in the open. So it forces us to address them and find them a place.
Yeah. Yeah. That is very true and even for me, because I'm happy to, I tend to be a little bit less organized with physical things than Monica is, and like clutter doesn't bother me as much as it bothers Monica.
Oof.
And so, but with that, I guess I should say, if something is out and say it's in the dining room and I see it there, I know that it's going to bother Monica just because it's in plain sight. Whereas at the old place, I could throw something into the office and know that you weren't going to see it or it wasn't going to bother you because I could shut the door and it was like out of sight, out of mind.
Oh, that makes me so upset. And I think that's another thing too, is like, I think we've talked about this in a previous episode. I don't remember how long ago it was, but we were kind of talking about just like learning to live together and like having our own spaces and stuff. And you talked about how you wanted to have like a space that was yours for like where you could put stuff, whatever.
Yeah, I think it was on 12 things we learned in 12 years of marriage.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we even talked about it earlier than that too, because we talked about, I remember
we
having a conversation about it in the old apartment. But where's I going with that?
Throwing stuff out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, I think like I didn't like the fact that you needed a space for yourself, but I tried to understand it because in marriage you have to seek to understand the other person and meet them where they're at, even if you think it's stupid.
Even if they're a fucking idiot.
No, but it was just hard there because it felt like I could see all of the spaces that he wanted to like have as his space. Like even having a space in our closet, we shared the closet. And so I was like, why are all of your clothes in a pile like that? Like that looks so chaotic. But now the house is so small that we have had to makeshift closets out of random closets here.
That's true.
And so he gets his own little closet and I don't have to look at it. And honestly, that's kind of a life hack. That is actually
really good for our
because you know what? It literally
mental health.
I see it open and I'll just go shut it. And I'm like, that's not my responsibility. And it's nice because like, I don't know. I do still get annoyed about like other clutter things that I see, but I also like recognize that I can't get that annoyed because I do the same thing. Like I have my own clutter too.
Yeah. But at least this is like, it's not the closet. It's not like, oh, there's a pile of stuff. And
I would be fine with you. Well, no, I'm not even going to say that. I was going to say like, I think you keep that closet pretty neat. I mean, we've only been here for 2 months. I would hope to God it was kept neat.
I actually have to because otherwise I can't. Because of how small it is. Yeah, I can't get into it if it's not.
I was going to say, like, I wouldn't even mind if you used that as your catch-all room, but I know that you can't. And so that's kind of nice.
I do.
Yeah, but it's an organized catch-all room.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like, there's order to my chaos. That room is chaotic.
Well, yeah, but it's just because it's small. It's not because you made it chaotic.
Yeah.
It's as organized as it could be.
If it was bigger, it would be the same level of organized chaos. I would still know where everything is and it would have a rhyme or reason, but it would still be a little bit chaotic.
You know what's funny though? He says that he knows where everything is. And that he puts things places or he's going to know where they are.
4 hours ago doing my taxes.
4 hours ago, not being able to find his W-2 from work and tearing the house apart. He took out like every single box in the closets, put all of his clothes on a chair, was like stomping around, cussing, kicking things. You didn't know where it was. And I know a past you said, I know where everything is. I'm going to remember where I put this. And he didn't.
In my defense, that was because of the move.
I would venture to bet you would have lost it one way or another.
I checked all the usual spots, which I found my W-2s dating back to 2017.
Why do you need those?
She asks, but she also didn't have her tax return from last year. You only need your one
from last year,
apparently. I had to search it.
Why would I keep that? Another thing, I'm decluttering my life and I'm getting rid of everything that doesn't make me happy. I'm getting rid of last year's tax return.
Definitely don't do that because they will ask you for it. And if you don't have it,
here's the thing though.
Straight to jail.
Here's the thing. Anything can be traced electronically. I will find my old tax return.
Okay, but we all know that like the last people to update is like the government. Like the IRS is always like the last one. They don't even know what tap to pay is, I don't think.
You found it though, didn't you?
I had to steal your social security number to do it.
You asked for it and I willingly gave it to you.
You did because you knew that you didn't want to do it.
And that's all you needed to find it. Huh. That's all you needed.
Moral of the story.
Lord.
I did misplace
the story is
one important tax document. I found it and we did our taxes.
And we also got a podcast episode idea from it.
Yes, we did. It's weird. My organized chaos thing, I know, it doesn't always make sense. Sometimes I do misplace things. I'm human. But I do try to keep it to a point where like I generally know where things are. And for the most part, I do a good job. Now, the flip side of that, cut to Monica's desktop, folders everywhere, screenshots everywhere. It's not on a grid system.
Wait, yes, it is.
Does it organize itself?
I don't know what that means, but
when you plug in a thing, does all the folders move? And then
I don't plug in anything. We don't do the same stuff. If you recall, I work with influencers. All of my work is in real time. It's like I do something that day to have it done that day. It's not like I'm continuously working on projects. And so it's like I'm airdropping myself things. I'm taking screenshots and sending them to my computer. And then after that day, I don't need them anymore. So usually I like have a bunch of random things that I just delete everything at the end of the week. So on Mondays, I start out with like a completely clear computer. I do have a trillion tabs open at all times though, because I have to be accessing a lot at one time throughout the day.
I didn't know that you cleared your desktop at the end of the week.
Yeah.
That makes me very happy for you.
I'm organized. I feel like I'm an organized person in every area of my life, but like you, like it makes sense to me. And I feel like that's a funny thing about being organized is that I don't think there's necessarily like a set way to be organized.
Yeah.
But you know it when you feel it. Because if you don't feel organized, you're not organized.
Right. And the second that you try to make sense of somebody else's organization, you're like, what in the hell is happening here?
I notice that so much when I'm covering for somebody at work because like taking on like with the type of work that I do, you kind of get into a specific workflow with each individual client. And so when you take on like another coworker's workload for the week and you like have to do things in their workflow, it's like, what the heck is going on? This makes no sense.
Yep.
But then it's like by the end of the week that you're covering, you're kind of starting to pick up on it. And then like
you have to give them back.
You give them back. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's just like a funny example of it is that like people have different ways of being organized. And I feel like that's something that we've learned together is that we both have different ways of being organized.
Yeah. Cause like if you go to my computer, baby, the organization, top tier.
And I just wish that would carry into like...
It makes so much sense. It is ties, desktop, ties, work, personal, other stuff. Like each thing, and then client name, then dated project, date of work, project name. Then, you know, like the whole thing, it has a system.
But
it's
then
the
it's
same
like...
it's the same folders in each client project. So I know exactly where like all my footage is in this, all of my effects are in this, all of my audio is in this, all of the documents in the project files, the whole 9. It's awesome.
And then you go into his car and a rolling desk chair falls on you because it hasn't had a home in months. And
it has a home now.
Yeah.
There is.
And there's trash from who knows how many months. And a tire is probably needing to be replaced. And
no, those tires are new. They're good. But there is a
brakes.
Jumpsuit in there with fake blood all over it still.
Yeah.
From like September.
That's another interesting thing because I feel like my level of organization is kind of the same across like my personal and professional life. Like it's not top tier, but it's pretty good.
Yeah.
And it's organized enough.
Yours is like consistent on all
and yours,
levels.
like your professional organization versus your personal organization needs some help.
I like get it. I get like the automations for everything too. So like I send all my clients a Google form. When they fill it out, it sends me an email. That email goes into a label in my Gmail. It creates tabs in my project manager with all of their answers in it, all of their references. Like it's so organized, it's scary. And then the second you look at my car, you're like, this can't not be the same human being.
Yeah.
It's really weird. I don't know what it is.
Does that feel weird to you? I guess it doesn't because that's your...
Because it's also one of those things that and you're going to give me shit for this, but I know exactly what is in my car.
Ty, that pisses me off.
I know exactly where things are too.
Yeah, but it's...
So like the other day I went to a shoot. I knew exactly where my fog machine was. It was in the floorboard behind the driver's seat. There was other shit piled on top of it, but I knew exactly where it was.
Okay.
And I don't know why that makes sense to me. I have heard that's an ADHD thing.
I feel like you just like to say things are an ADHD thing.
I do. I would really like to go see a psychiatrist.
I want you to get a diagnosis before you keep going around telling people you have ADHD.
I do too. I do want to go get that checked out. But I have heard that's a very common ADHD thing, to like have chaos but know where things are and be like, don't touch my piles.
Yeah.
Which is very me. So we'll see. I don't know.
I don't know where we're going with this episode.
I don't either.
Because it's not even like we can speak to organization in the same way, because
I just think
I am getting heavily upset at the thought of your car right now. So it's making me like, we can't both speak to being organized in the same way that we initially talked about for like the sake of this episode. Because I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what else to say.
Yeah. I think the moral of the story is like, well, as a couple, us learning organizationally what makes the other person happy has been a key for us over the past year. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Because it affects our emotional and mental states from earlier. You know, like I feel like that was constantly a big issue for us at the beginning, and that we were constantly talking about in our family meetings, was us like, this really bothers me when you leave a dish on the...
Yeah, that's true.
Versus now, we don't really have to have those conversations that often.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is like a, hey, just checking. Are you going to clean that up?
Yeah, that's true.
Or it's me being, or I should say it's either of us being proactive and saying like, hey, I left that there, but I'm going to come back to it.
Yeah.
I just need to get this other thing done.
I feel like that has actually been key.
Yeah,
for
it's
me.
the communication aspect.
Yeah, because I like hate to be naggy. And sometimes I know that I am, and I just embrace it because I'm like, well, what the fuck ever. Like, if it's not going to get done unless I nag him, then I'll do it. Like, pull my arm.
Yeah.
But I don't like to like be that person. So I would much rather you be like, because I don't even like having to ask like, hey, are you going to do that? Because that almost feels like a passive aggressive nag.
Yeah.
But if you're like, oh, hey, I left my computer on the table, even though you just cleaned it, but I'm going to come back for it. I'd be like, oh, thank you for acknowledging that I just cleaned it. That makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And that's like what I did with my clothes in the bathroom the other day. Like I left my clothes in a pile on the floor, and I was like, I know those are there. I'm going to get them. I'm just being lazy.
And you did that multiple times.
But I wanted to acknowledge that, like, yes, they had been there for a while. No, like, yes, I know that they're not supposed to be there.
Yeah. And you even did that with like your suitcase. It took you a couple days to unpack. Not a big deal.
It took me 8 days to unpack.
It doesn't.
Thank you for that.
That's the other thing. I mean,
sometimes I think my disorganization doesn't bother you, but I address it because it bothers me, because I don't like being unorganized, and it would bother me if that was your stuff. And so I don't want to feel like a hypocrite.
Yeah.
That like you can't, like it's a double standard. Like I can leave my stuff, but you can't leave yours, which is why I address it. And I'm like, hey, like I know this has been here for days.
Yeah.
I'll get it.
Yeah. It does. I mean, the only time it stresses me out is when I know that it's going to bug you.
And so you're just like waiting for me to like notice it.
Yeah, I know that it's like, I can sense that you are getting like mounting stress.
It's like, yeah. It's
right?
like
throughout the week as
the tensions are building.
Crescendoing, if you will.
It's the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Literally
just
the
a big
suitcase
old riser
in the room.
under there. It's like, shh.
And then one day you're going to come home and I'll be sitting on the bed and I'll just be like, I'm upset.
Yeah. So what gets scary for me is that just wait. So as this is crescendoing, I know that like anything that I leave out is going to send you over the edge, right? So it's like, I'll start cleaning up your shit because I'm worried that if I leave my laptop on the table, it's going to be game over.
That is actually really true. I'm sorry to say it. That is so toxic of me. But it's true. It's because it's like...
It's not like a big deal because it doesn't actually bother me. It's that I don't want... Because I know you have anxiety. I know that those things are going to add to your own anxiousness.
Yes. And then, yeah.
So it's just
tough out here trying to stay organized.
It is. And especially in like... We live in an apartment that's A, small. B, doesn't have a lot of amenities that would limit some of those organizational issues. Like, this isn't really organizational. It's just a cleanliness issue, I guess. But we don't have a dishwasher. So we don't have somewhere to just like put shit when it's dirty. It just has to like live in the sink and pile up on our very small counter, which means if I'm not on top of my shit and cleaning it, you're going to get stressed out.
So very stressed out.
And then you are going to come to me and go, I need to make a list of all the things that are stressing me out.
I do that a lot.
Through tears. Sometimes
that's
that
why
is what you need.
Let's go into like organization tips that we have, especially now that we live in a smaller space. I feel like we're definitely not always on top of it. I feel I have at least a meltdown a week before we fully organize, and then I feel good again. But just some tips of like ways to stay on top of organization, or how to organize in smaller spaces, whatever. I'll go first.
Great.
The one that I was thinking of when we were talking about making a list of things that stress me out. I also like to make to-do lists.
You do.
And I don't know if that's like a trigger for you, because like I usually make a to-do list when I'm stressed, and I don't know if you start to associate that with like me being stressed and that like stresses you out.
I only make to-do lists when I'm thinking of it in a like career sense. So
okay.
And I love it in that sense. It does stress me out every once in a while. It more so, I understand why you do it, so it doesn't really bother me.
It's one of those things where it's like the problem feels too big until you see it.
Yes.
And so I have to make a to-do list to be like, okay, this is everything broken down.
Yes.
And then instead of you having to ask, what would you like me to do? I can be like, here's the list, pick something.
Yeah.
I don't do that all the time because, again, that kind of feels like a naggy thing. But now that I think about it, it might make both of us happier in the long run. So,
I actually do appreciate it, because for me, because you don't physically make the list sometimes. And so then you are just listing things that are stressing you out, right? But it still isn't, you can't look at it yet. So you are still like spiraling out of control and like frantic, right? And for me, my thing is like, okay, she just said it's cluttered in the dining room. Why don't we just declutter the dining room real quick? You know, like my brain is like, great, take the first thing and let's solve it real fast. But I think for you, you have to like get it all on paper first, or in a Apple Note. So please feel free to keep doing that.
That is a tip, because even if, I don't know, I feel like even for the people that aren't like me and have a more or a less stressed brain, I feel like it is still helpful just to have like a to-do list of like little things that you can do. Even like, I like to break up my to-do lists by day. Like at work, I have daily to-do lists that I will like add to, but I have like every Monday, these are the things that I definitely do. And then whatever else gets added to it that day, like it gets added. But like Mondays, I do certain things. Tuesdays, I do certain things. So like maybe Mondays you clean your bathroom or do a load of laundry, or I don't know. Like I feel like that's a good way to like break up little tasks so that like you're staying on top of being organized without like having to do a full like deep clean, or like trying to get everything together all in one day. Cause that's when I always get like, like, it almost makes me like shut down. So that's tip number 1 for me.
That's really good. And it segues very nicely to what I had, because for me, it's scheduling. So, which is kind of what you're saying, but like I've been reading a lot and like learning a lot about like creating. As a creative, sometimes the hardest thing is like finishing things or like accomplishing things. And a lot of the ways that people say, a lot of the time, like experts in the field will say like build routines, and not because some people get scared of routines because it's like looks too black and white and boring. But it makes it so that your brain can go into autopilot easier. Like it eliminates the stress of like, well, what's going to happen?
Think about it.
Yeah. It's like when you're driving on the way home from work and you don't really have to think about it because you drive it every day. And so then you can listen to an audiobook or, you know, whatever, like you can do more because your brain doesn't have to think about it. And so building routines like that consistently help with that kind of thing. So for me, and just like scheduling in general is just really helpful for me. I found I need to get back to like doing this more consistently, but like scheduling my day out by like hour to hour, especially for how sporadic my brain is
do time blocking.
Helpful. Where I'll be like, okay, I use ChatGPT to do it. I'll like text it all of the things that I want to accomplish in a day and be like, these are the things I need to get done. These are the things that I want to get done. Schedule it out. And it'll like give it to me in work on this editing thing for 3 hours, work on this for this, make a TikTok for 1 hour. And then I know like, okay, if it is after 1 p.m., I need to be done messing with that TikTok because it's no longer serving me. I'm actually just procrastinating. And I know that's more of like a work organization or like a scheduling organization, but it's, I don't know. It's important.
The overarching idea of organization. So I think that's helpful.
Yeah.
My next one, something that I've been learning, especially in this apartment, that's super helpful is to clean as you go. I realized this when we first started doing HelloFresh at the old apartment. I would do that like when you were like on your way home from work or something and I would be making dinner that night. I would like, as I chopped things, I would throw away the extra pieces, and like as I used a container of seasoning or whatever, I would throw away the trash. Like I would consolidate everything as I went, and like while things were simmering, I would like wipe down the little area that got stuff on it, whatever. I feel like especially if you're in a space that has like not a lot of space, that's super helpful to clear up space as you go. But also it eliminates having to like spend extra time fully cleaning something later, because that time is going to pass anyway.
Yeah.
And so like, I don't know, it just makes more sense to me to do it that way. That's like specific to cooking, but like in other senses of that, like
I was gonna say, like, it's way easier if I do the dishes every night than if I wait and do it every other night.
Yeah. Or like when well, here's an example. My rings are sitting right there. I took them off the other day and left them. If I had taken them off and just like walked to put them away when I took them off, like
they wouldn't be sitting here now.
Yes. And so it's just like, I think just like eliminating momentary lazy choices, because ultimately like you're not really saving yourself any time. You're saving yourself time, I guess, in the moment, but that's always going to be spent later, because now I'm going to have to go put those rings back anyway. I might as well have just done it then. And same with like, I feel like a big thing that maybe a lot of people do is like leave clothes like on the floor, on the bed, whatever.
That's pretty targeted.
I know. It wasn't. It's not.
No, but I do that every night.
Oh, I know you do. But
I take off my pants, just throw them on the floor right next to the bed.
Yep.
And that's been a big one for me lately, where like I've been trying, because I know it bothers
stress
you.
me out a lot.
Because 3 days goes by and I have 3 pairs of pants piled up on top of each other.
Yeah.
So I have been trying to put them in the thing every
and
night,
like
or fold them up.
Again, we have like a smaller room than we used to have. So like if I take off a pair of pants, I just walk my little butt into the closet and hang them up immediately, so that it's like, okay, that took 10 seconds. Like,
right. As
it
opposed
is not
to the
hard.
3 seconds it would have taken you to take them off and throw them.
That's the thing that's funny about like being organized and like being lazy, whatever. It's like the time exchange
Everything
is
costs
so
something.
minuscule. Either way, you might as well do the one that serves you more, because it's gonna save you time in the long run. It's just like funny that that's how so many of our brains are just wired to just like do the easier thing in the moment. But like, this is like a lame, probably too dramatic of a quote, but you know that quote that's like, do something right now that your future self will thank you for.
Yeah.
I always think about that, like when I do something like put the keys where they go when I get home, instead of taking them to the table and then losing them later. It's like, I'm like, oh, future me is going to be so glad I just put the keys back, because I don't have to look for them later and think that I lost them.
Literally even like investing money versus just like spending it, you know, it's like, oh, that long term, it like, you know, it compounds. You get more money at the end of it. Like it's all for the greater, you're looking long term, not short term.
Do you have other tips?
Honestly, you kind of got my last one, because I was going to say like doing things, which I guess it all is around the first one, but like doing things consistently, cleaning the dishes every night, like keeping up with things like that is way easier in the long term, which is kind of sick.
I have a couple more.
Great.
Another one is to get rid of shit. I feel like
that's true.
I think that's part of the reason why I do feel a lot clearer headed overall lately, is because I just know that I have less stuff. And like when you own less, you have to clean up less.
Yep.
And you have to find a home for less.
It's like the law of like, if there's space, you'll fill it.
Yeah.
It's like it's easier to maintain if you have a smaller space.
Yeah.
That's why people that are like minimalists, like, and they like live in the tiny homes, not saying we should, but they'll like have 2 t-shirts and 2 pairs of pants, and they're like, I really don't need anything else because what else am I going to wear?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm definitely not that extreme about it, but I do think there is value in like looking through your closet and being like, okay, what have I not even touched in 6 months?
Yeah.
I'm gonna sell it or donate it or whatever. Or like, we have 50 trillion cups. I'm gonna get rid of half of these because we don't need all of them and they're taking up space. Just like little things like that, I feel like is so helpful. And it just feels so nice to like not have overly full cabinets or like a closet that's just like bursting at the seams and you don't even know where stuff is. Like, I love being able to just like pick something out because I can see it immediately.
Yeah.
And it's great.
I would say your Newly subscription also helps with that.
It does help with that.
Because you still are getting we sound like we're sponsored by Newly.
I wish we were.
Newly sponsor us.
Please.
Goddamn. But I mean, like things like that it's like, oh, I don't need to hold on to this because I'm going to get new things soon. Yeah. It scratches that itch.
For sure.
Honestly, it's like paying for for me, it's like paying for a Netflix subscription so that I don't have to buy a bunch of movies.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Pretty much, yeah. One more? I meant I have one more.
You have one more? Please hit me with it. I would love to hear.
Get a robo vacuum.
Nice.
We
I
just
actually
got
almost
one.
said that earlier, and I felt that I hadn't utilized it enough to actually have that.
No, I mean, so my parents gave us their robo vacuum when we went to Florida a couple weeks ago, and we've only used it like twice. I used it Saturday for the first time, like fully through the house, and it is pretty slow and it's a little bit noisy, but I didn't have to vacuum. And so it was like the vacuum can be running while you're doing other things. And so like it's more efficient and it just like takes something off me. And like if you have pets or something and like you get hair that like just piles up or I don't know, it gets really dusty, whatever, like you could run that like multiple times a week and you won't need to vacuum. Like
Yep.
They can be a little pricey, but I do feel like that's a good investment for your time because I know people, especially people with like big houses, like vacuuming takes a long time.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's just like one less thing to have to do. And that's like a thing you can automate in your personal life.
I was going to say with that, like, it's like I was saying with, my Google form thing for work, like the more you can automate, the easier it is to keep your life organized.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing I was saying about like your brain taking less space. Like the more that you don't have to think about, the more you don't have to spend your time on, the better.
Yeah.
Just all around. Like the RoboVac is sick because you hit start and she goes.
She's kind of cute too.
She is. We named her Eve.
You could make it like your little pet.
Yeah.
If you don't have a pet.
She doesn't play nice with Coop.
Yeah, Coopy doesn't really like her. He thumped.
More so Coop doesn't play nice with her. He gets scared.
Coop doesn't F with that. He doesn't like things that are his size and move.
Yeah.
But
he's fine with humans.
Yeah.
Not great with RoboVacs.
Anyway, I feel like that's pretty much everything I had. I feel like
do too, yeah.
I feel like this is a topic that a lot of people our age may find helpful. Hopefully you guys find it helpful.
Yeah. Hopefully it inspired something else, because I know this wasn't like hard and fast rules or guidelines or anything, but like, I don't know, think creatively, utilize your time better.
Don't be a lazy bitch. Just kidding.
See, I am coughing more.
Yeah, he's coughing up a lung over there.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even check the Google form. All right. Well, next week, hopefully you'll all have written in more, and then we can do a episode or a portion of an episode. But thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of it.
Hope you guys organize your life.
Yeah. If you would like to follow along, get updates, you can follow us on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. You can find all that in the show notes. You can also find a Google form to talk to us. Did I get it all?
I think so.
Hell yeah. You got anything else? Any wise words of wisdom for them?
Nope.
Bye.
See ya.